3, call our meeting to order. Thank all of you for coming, joining us, being here with us tonight. After calling our meeting to order, I'll call on our Mayor Pro Tem, Ms. Devaney, if she will, to lead us in our invocation.
All right, if everybody will bow your head, please. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for all that you have provided for us and continue to provide us. Each day is a new day for us to honor you, be thankful, and follow you. Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. We thank you for the opportunity to govern ourselves, to have the freedom to meet, discuss, and make decisions that are righteous in your sight for our benefit and for your glory. Lord, we ask that you help us grow closer to you as a group and to nurture the bonds of the community. In your name, we pray.
Thank you, Councilperson Robinson. You lead the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Call on our clerk to begin our introductions, if you will.
Sarah Tibbetts, Town Clerk.
Jeff Davis.
Janelle Robinson.
Tim Sessions.
Lynn Williams Devaney.
Reese Walker.
John Doggett.
Scott Whitaker, Town Manager.
Dee Hoff, Finance Officer.
Brad Renz, Planning Manager. And Bob Hornick, Town Attorney.
Okay, on to item number 4, our consent agenda. You have in your packet the meeting agenda and also the open session minutes from 11:14. Is there any input on those, or would someone like to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion that we pass the consent agenda as written.
Have a motion. We have a second.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 5, announcements. Anyone have any announcements?
I have a few, Mr. Mayor. Christmas and New Year's holidays, when the town hall will be closed, is December the 25th through January the 1st. Second announcement is a surprise recognition of one of our staff members this week. The VFW surprised our manager, assistant, and events coordinator Cheryl Gore and the town with the Americanism Award, and that is about promoting Americanism and the patriotic principles of the veterans of foreign affairs. Cheryl has been always been instrumental in working with our history committee and the VFW and planning events and promoting those, and we just like to give her a shout out and on behalf of the town and really appreciate that honor from the VFW. And the third and last announcement is this Saturday's town council meeting. It's a special call meeting. It will be at Town Hall at 8:30, and its focus is a discussion about the recent open space mixed-use village district text amendment and the de-annexation threat. So no new information there in terms of nothing happening that we're hearing from the General Assembly, but just a discussion with the new council when they're installed, and which leads to the next announcement. So a bit late in the day, but I hope you got the announcement on Facebook or Nextdoor what the plan is for this evening. And that is that the newly elected council members will actually be sworn in this Thursday. So what will happen this evening for the agenda is that we'll, in essence, go through item 14, installation of incoming council members. And our mayor, Tim Sessions, will be sworn in tonight because he actually has his certificate of election, and this meeting will, instead of being adjourned, the plan is to continue it to Thursday evening and it'll be back here at 6:30. And then the new elected council members will be sworn in. They'll conduct all the business that you see. If you have an agenda in front of you, or that's on the screen, Brad, if you scroll down, all that, item 16, new business. So that'll be dealt with Thursday, and then that meeting will be adjourned, and then we'll be back to that planned special call meeting for this Saturday morning. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Can I just add one thing? I know John was at the parade on Saturday in Stokesdale, and that was just a fun time, and there were several Summerfield citizens. I saw some students there, and he's probably saw friends and family as well. So just wanted to give Stokesdale a shout out for a great parade, and it finally didn't rain on that parade.
The sun did come out.
The sun came out.
Any other announcements? If not, I do have one quick announcement. I'd like to ask Eric Kuhn, his wife Christina, John and Kristen Berlin, if they would. If you guys would just come up here and face everybody. I want to talk about these guys just for a quick second. And these are folks who work with Summerfield Recreation Association. Eric there in the blue coat. I think John's coat is black. Eric is the president. His wife Christina is the treasurer. Kristen is the sponsorship director for SRA. You guys come on up. And just come up right here where everybody can see you. These folks do not like the limelight, so they'll be mad at me later, but we sure do appreciate all the work that SRA does. I want to tell you a little bit about SRA, and then I'll tell you why we've called them up here tonight. SRA is a nonprofit organization consisting of 8 board members and approximately 12 volunteers who devote their time and efforts to offer youth sports to children in Summerfield and surrounding communities. SRA was created in 1982 and incorporates multiple programs with an enrollment somewhere between 700 and 750 children or youth each season. Our sports are played locally in surrounding communities and across the nation as our Summerfield Stars team travel long distances to compete in tournaments. SRA partners with multiple local businesses to provide fair, reasonable participation costs. Our goal, they say, is for every child to have the opportunity to participate in any program that they desire. So it's a very worthy cause, and these folks do a great job, and they do it to no applause. And they came up with a need a few months ago and communicated that to our town. And our Parks and Rec Director, Mr. Jeff Gore, did some research and recommended that we meet them in that need. I think it was $19,000 to replace the lights up at Summerfield Elementary School. And Jeff actually found, I think the town council actually paid for those lights back in 2004, I think it was. And well, those lights are wore out now, and they're going to do some new lights. And so the town council decided that we would make a donation of $19,000. But then it also came up last month that we needed also some lights for T-ball, and that was an extra $2,500. So I want to thank these folks a whole lot. Would you help me in showing our appreciation for them? I'm going to hand you this check. I know you guys want to move on. They have practices and stuff, so they're going to run out the door, but they're going to the next thing they have to do. So thank you very much on behalf of Summerfield. Thanks for partnering with us and all that you guys provide for the kids and the youth here in Summerfield. Very much. Thank you very, very much. Any other announcements? Okay, we'll go into our emergency services report, starting with the Summerfield Fire District. Mr. Walker.
Yes, sir. In November, the Summerfield Fire District ran 29 fire-related calls, 55 EMS-related calls, and 50 other calls. The call total for November was 134 incidents. Please remember these safety tips. Make sure your address is properly displayed and easily seen from the roadway, so first responders can easily find you in case of an emergency. Stay safe in the kitchen this holiday season by keeping kids at least 3 feet away from all cooking instruments and hot surfaces. Before you use your fireplace, please make sure to have it cleaned and inspected to reduce your risk of a chimney fire. And please remember, if you get a fresh Christmas tree, to water it daily and unplug the lights before you go to bed or leaving your home. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Doggett, the Sheriff's report.
Yes, sir. For the month of November, the Sheriff's Office responded to 213 total calls for service within the Summerfield town limits, resulting in 20 formal case reports. Of note, November 3rd, deputies responded to an armed robbery of the Clouds Tobacco at 4539 US 220 North, where 2 subjects robbed the business at gunpoint. The deputies responded to the area and apprehended the 2 18-year-old males in connection with the crime and within 1 hour of the within 1 hour of the robbery. Both were charged with robbery with a dangerous weapon. On November 22nd, deputies responded to a commercial break-in and entering at the Curiosity Video Games and More at 4527 US 220 North. The case remains under investigation. That's it.
You always have that blunt ending, and I never really know. Thank you, sir.
Yes.
On to item number 7, our all of the attachments for council are there, the committee reports, financial reports. Is there anyone here from any of our committees that would like to report tonight? Seeing none. Any conversation or discussion from the council on item number 7A or B? Okay, moving on to item number 8, public comments. As Mr. Whitaker said earlier, if you'd like to make a public comment, have the opportunity to fill out one of those little pieces of paper like this and pass that across. You do need to fill out a separate one if you want to do one on the public comments and the rezoning. So I only have one, and maybe one more coming. But if anyone likes one, you can still go ahead right now. So, I'm sorry, John. Yes.
So, the board wanted to give all of y'all hats.
Oh, really? Oh.
We're sports people. We're not.
Can we accept these gifts?
That's right. I promise.
Well, that's for the 21-5. Thank you very much.
If you put the hat on, you got to come coach the team.
Hey, they're pretty serious about that too.
Thank you all very much. If you would, please, when I call your name, come up, or, okay, just stay there, Ms. Fields. And when I call your name, just give us your name and your address, and then your 3 minutes will begin. And we'd like to hear about anything you'd like to share with us. Ms. Fields.
Well, mine won't take very long. Is this on? Well, I really appreciate the dog park so much because I've got 4 big dogs and it's a really big job to get them from there, my house, to the park, and then back in the car and back to my house. But I've noticed like every time I go there, there's nobody there, and I've heard, well, from other people that I've met, just every now and then, puppies of my mama, dogs. There's no like directional sign showing the dog park is this way. And I would request a sign being put up as the Summerfield Dog Park or something down on that street, Madeiras, and I think it is, in Summerfield Road, if that's a possibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming by, and thanks for sharing your experience in the dog park. Thank you.
I love it.
Beth Kaplan.
Beth Kaplan, 7979 Highfield Road. First, I'd like to thank the fire department for doing such a great job of hosting Santa Claus. It was great. I never knew there were so many cute kids in Summerfield. It was wonderful. We had a great time, so thank you very much. Second, I'd like to thank Jeff and Reese for doing such a wonderful job on the council. Y'all have been great. We're going to be greatly missed. I was hoping that we were going to have a little reception and have some cake, but I guess not, so I'm sad about that. I love cake. But thank y'all for doing such a great job.
Any comments from the council, manager, attorney, anyone at all?
I'll make one comment about the dog park sign. So there is a sign at the end of Madeiras, but at the west end of Madeiras. So you're talking about turning off of Summerfield Road?
Yes, sir.
That's a tight corner, but we can look at that and see if there's a potential spot
Yeah,
there.
because no one knows about it.
Right, and we do have planned for some additional signage around this community building and other places to park, and this park to direct people there from this direction.
I could make the sign and put it up and everything
We-
if you need me to.
Yeah, we'll do that from a branding standpoint, but thanks, we'll look into it.
All right, thanks.
Any other comments from the council manager, Mr. Attorney? Okay, if not, we'll move on to item number 10, our public hearing. And I imagine, as always, we'll start out with hearing from the applicant. Is that how you want to do it, Mr. Rentz?
We'll start with staff tonight.
Say it one more time.
Town staff tonight?
We'll start with staff?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is the applicant still going to present?
Yes.
Okay, so you guys go first, then we'll have them go, then we'll open it up to the public?
Right.
Very good, thank you.
So council, in your packet, we're going to start on page 2 at the top. Citizens, this is page 2 there on the screen. This is rezoning case RZ03-2023, rezoning from single-family residential, RS30, and the town core district residential overlay area to the conditional zoning business district, or CZBN. Council's actions tonight are to hold a public hearing and approve, deny, or continue, or remand back to the planning board this request to rezone. The location, there are 2 parcels located at 7508 and 7602 Addison Drive here in Summerfield. The parcel numbers are 147086 and 147087. I'll get to a map here in just a moment, just to orient you, but the surrounding land uses, actually, might be a good time to show the map now. This should be on page 6 of your packet. I believe it got cut off there at the top, but it's the location map of 7508 and 7602 Addison Drive. It's in the center of your packet there in yellow, and the citizens, it's in yellow there on the screen. So to the north, you have US 220, single-family residences. Directly to the northwest, I guess, on Addison Drive, it's a vacant parcel. But you have more single-family residences to the south and west, as well as the east. So these parcels do back up directly, though, to US 220. So then backtracking a little bit to page 2 of your packet. There are 1.22 acres in total between the 2 parcels. 0.46 at 7602 Addison and 0.76 at 7508. There's a brief history to these 2 parcels. I'm going to bring you up to speed on it. In the October 26th Board of Adjustment meeting, they heard this case for a variance to rezone to the business district. The business district requires at least 60,000 square feet to rezone to it. These parcels combined, unfortunately, don't make that. So you'll see there under item C that they currently equal 53,000 and some change square feet. So they're about 7,000 square feet short, which is why they needed that variance. At that meeting, the Board of Adjustment did approve unanimously this variance request, which allowed the applicant to come back the following month in November with a rezoning request. The informational meeting was held on November 20th, 2023 for the applicant and interested citizens. Only a few residents attended that meeting, and they had questions about the intended use of the property and expressed concern over future commercial development along these parcels on Addison and the other vacant parcels on Addison Drive. When asked, the Summerfield Fire Department offered no suggestions or conditions when reviewing this rezoning. And at the November 27th planning board meeting, they voted 3-2 to recommend that the council deny this rezoning request. The fielder made the motion and he said that it was inconsistent with the surrounding area. Following the planning board meeting, though, the applicant requested to remove the following 2 uses that were originally included in the request. So the applicant no longer wants to include automotive supply and parts, as well as automobile sales or rentals in the requested uses. And I'll go over that again here in a moment. So under item B there, continuing on page 3, the planning department finds that this rezoning request is consistent with 2 tenets of our comprehensive plan. It is appropriate limited commercial development, being that the proposed uses do seem to be pretty limited, and we do feel that some use is better than a vacant lot as they are currently. That also plays into the attractive community appearance, which was our second tenet of the comprehensive plan. And then moving on to item E on page 4, given the limited scope of potential commercial uses and reduced buildable area of the parcels due to USC 20 widening, and the proximity of USC 20, the planning department recommends that the council approve this rezoning request as proposed by the applicant. A little bit more background on this. These parcels have remained vacant since DOT took them over. I don't exactly remember when that was, 2013, 14? Does that sound about right?
That project started in early 2012, so probably 2011, early 12.
Okay. So since then, at least since my tenure here at the town, we have received code enforcement complaints on these parcels. DOT does own a lot of property throughout the state, and some property doesn't get maintained as often as it probably should. So some neighbors have complained about the property being overgrown and some nefarious activities potentially happening there. So that plays into the planning department's recommendation. Moving on a bit to page 7, you'll see the notice that was mailed out to residents. Page 9 begins the applicant's application for rezoning. Excuse me, on page 10. And then, as I mentioned, we'll go back over it on page, we'll start actually with page 11 there on your screen. So, as a conditional zoning, there are the opportunity for the applicant to propose use conditions as well as development conditions. The use conditions we'll go over in a moment, but the development conditions that we propose is that no business signage will be visible from Addison Drive or Mowers Fork Road. So any signage that may come with a commercial use will only be visible from 220. And then on page 12, these are the requested uses of the applicant. These are the only uses that they would like to be allowed on this parcel should it be approved by council. You'll see under item 7 on that page, near the bottom, that the 2 requested uses that I mentioned earlier are removed: automotive supply and parts, automobile sales or rentals. So the rest there are still what they request. Continue on just through the packet and the complete application that the applicant sent, property owner sent. On page 14, you'll see an aerial image that they submitted showing the 2 parcels and the surrounding vacant land. You'll see Addison Drive there on the bottom of it and 220 there on the top. And the second image is just the other view, looking westward. Continue on to page 16 of their application. You'll just see an image. A brief note though on these, this is not a site plan review, this is only about land use. The applicant is aware of that. They still wanted these included because they felt like it showed the vision for the parcel. But these are certainly not binding and certainly possible that you will never see this. This is a disclaimer. But this is included in the application. So the last item I have, I actually handed out before the meeting, and it's on your right, it should be right in front of you. And I'm going to rely on Scott to describe this a little more, but this is a resolution from 1999 that the council then approved. I'll let Scott go from there.
Yeah, so this is a little bit hard to follow from the wording. The wording wasn't great, but I'll explain it to you. So, and we felt like it was important to bring this before the planning board's attention for context. So this was a resolution passed in 1999 where the council at the time, so context, keep in mind the town's about 3 years old, and the council at the time passed this resolution as a strong statement that they did not want further commercial development along US 220, specifically from, at the time they said, and what this resolution says, is from Auburn Road, so they're at CDS on 220, and it takes it up to Gastown. And so there were reasons for this. It was before my time, but I've been aware of it for years because it comes up occasionally. Former Mayor Mark Brown has reminded me of it several times and kind of gave me more detail about it. So according to him, what happened later, and I haven't found an exact spot in the town's history, but the council decided to remove the section, and I'm getting a nod from former council member Jane Doggett that this is true, from basically there at Scalesville Road to Gastown, that northern section. So what that leaves is this town council desire at the time to limit commercial development from 150 down at CVS to 150 here, or Scalesville Road rather, so to Town Hall down to CVS. So that is in play. We had a discussion at the planning board level about what a resolution is, and the attorney can jump in here if needed, but I described it as really a statement of intent. It wasn't a policy or an ordinance or anything with the formality in our development ordinance, but it was a strong statement at the time of what council desired for that region of 220. Is that fair, Bob?
Right. It's not a legal limitation on the use of the property, but rather a statement of the council at that time's attitude about how that property should or should not be developed.
So we felt we would be remiss not to bring that to the planning board's attention and also to your attention this evening.
Okay, does that conclude the town's presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Then we'll ask the applicants, if they will, to come forward and identify themselves. And do they have 20 minutes? Is that what it is to present, or is there a time?
We don't have a limit so much on
Okay,
them.
very good.
I won't need 20 minutes.
Okay, great.
Good evening. Thank you for your time tonight, Council. My name is Matt Cross, and with my wife, Catherine. We're residents of Summerfield, and we're where we're raising our 2 young children. I'm a full-time firefighter with the Greensboro Fire Department. Been working part-time with Mike Gregson of Gregson Signs for the last 15 years. Mike runs Gregson Signs has run Gregson Signs for over 40 years. We specialize in vehicle graphics and vinyl lettering. It's kind of like that sign there. That's kind of stuff that we make. My wife and I purchased these 2 parcels of land back in August with the intentions of building a climate-controlled shop in the future to design, print, and install our graphics that we produce. We currently provide graphics for the Summerfield Fire District as well as other surrounding fire departments and businesses. We're a small 2-man operation. We focus on quality over quantity. We don't do a lot of work, just good work, I like to think. So we do no advertising, no marketing, anything like that. When we started talking with Brad, we completed our application. We talked about the conditional zoning requests is what we decided to do. And my wife and I have decided to remove all uses on the list except for uses that are required for our business, which is that one that you saw there, automotive body work. And other uses that we thought would maybe benefit the town later down the road or the neighborhood. As residents of Summerfield, it's very important for us to keep the rural charm and feel of Summerfield with any building that we do in the future. It's also very important for us to be good neighbors, which is why we placed those conditions on the property, such as the no signage visible from anywhere other than Highway 220. If we approved and we built a shop, it would be very low traffic because we have customers that drop their vehicles off and they would stay for days, multiple days, and then just come pick them up when they're ready. And on that, security is also a big factor. So all the vehicles will be kept inside as much as possible for security as well as the look of the neighborhood. So I'm happy to answer any questions and that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Cross.
Yes, sir.
Any questions from the council?
I just have one, please.
Yes, sir.
Where do you plan to put your entrance?
It would be, so our original plan was to be off of Addison Drive. We talked about that at the planning board meeting. Since then, I've reached out to some engineers with the state to see if it was possible to have an entrance off of Highway 220. And that area of Highway 220 is it's called controlled access area. So they have a lot of say, and the engineers on what you can and can't do. He told me that it was possible. It'd be some more hoops to jump through, kind of like we've been doing here. But it is possible to do that. So I did want to do my due diligence on that and see if that was a possibility after our meeting with the planning board. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
If that's possible, is that your intent?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the pictures are hard to tell. It's a pretty steep embankment from 220 to the property line. So, it would take some work, but it was, reassuring to hear him say that it was a possibility. Yes, sir. They have to do road studies and stuff like that to start that process.
Mr. Cross, would
Yes.
you be amenable to volunteer a condition that access to the site, if the rezoning were granted, would only be from Highway 220?
I don't know. That may be something. Is that a decision that has to be made now, or?
Well, it might be important to the board's deliberations on the rezoning request.
Okay. Probably not this time.
But because, that would be, if DOT told him no, his case would then fail, right?
Well, he may have to come back for another approval or a different approval from this council. And we cannot impose a condition on conditional zoning. That's why I asked the question, we volunteer.
I wanted to think through all that, because we put that, or he put that as a condition, we accepted it, and then DOT told him no, then he really wouldn't have to rezone it.
Well, you'd have a rezoning, but you have to come back.
Just wouldn't have to wait. Yeah.
When I asked staff about that entrance on 220, from what I understand, it's highly unlikely that it would be allowed.
Yeah, and I was going to bring that up. So we talked about the possibility of that at the planning board level, and I think the consensus was that was probably a unlikely scenario that they would allow it. At the time, you had not done that due diligence. It sounds like they would consider it now, so that's a change after your due diligence.
Yes, sir.
And there had been some discussion about the difference in grade from Highway 220 to the parcels too, that would make access from 220 difficult, if I recall correctly.
Any other questions for Mr. Cross? Mr. Cross, you have anything else?
No, sir. I appreciate you all's time, and thank you for y'all's time on the council.
Well, thank you for your service, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you.
All right.
And
Thank you.
We'll take this up after we have our public hearing. So with that being closed, we'll open up a period of public hearing to hear from the public. And I'll just call these out in order, and this operates just like public comments. You just come out, give us your name and your address, then you have 3 minutes to share with us on the rezoning topic. Our first person signed up is Jacqueline McLean. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Was that close?
Close enough, Jacqueline McLean.
Oh,
My
McLean.
husband Keith and I reside at 6920 Wooden Rail Lane. We actually purchased the other lots, the one there on the corner, which is 7604 Addison. And then there are the 2 lots that belong to the Crosses. And then we purchased the other 3 lots, which are 7504, 7502 Addison, and then at the very end, 4900 Rondon. So we got 4 of the 6 lots from the DOT. And we purchased it knowing that it was zoned residential and knowing that we might have some difficulty because the back parts of these parcels, which I believe were cleared in 2014. I know that they were the houses were gone by then. And the back parts of them have been basically what used to be the old septic fields were removed in some way. So my husband and I have bush hogged the 4 lots, and we've staked the proposed residences, and we are working with Guilford County Health Department to try to figure out how to make these 4 lots viable. And we're planning on building residences because it's a residential neighborhood. And we have met with the Crosses and we like them. They are really nice people. But we just don't want a business next door. We don't want emergency vehicles pulling in and out. And I mean, I think all of us could just say we just simply don't want a business next to our new homes, our new residences. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McLean. Priscilla Olnick.
Good evening, council, mayor. My name's Priscilla Olnick. I live at 3100 Pleasant Ridge Road. So y'all know I don't live in this neighborhood, but we have some friends who do. A lot of these houses have been there since the 60s and some before then. So you're looking at like 60 years that a lot of these residents have lived in this residential neighborhood. Many of them are seniors. They've been in their houses their whole entire lives, and I don't think they ever expected for a business to move into their little neighborhood. I want to read you a sentence in the packet. Characteristics of the proposed district. The business district is intended to accommodate a mixture of retail trade, business, professional, and personal services, and eating and drinking establishments that will be located within a scenic corridor overlay area, away from residential areas. So unfortunately, it's just not compatible. This is directly in the middle of a residential neighborhood. It's been there for not a long time. To the north, south, east, and west is all residential. And while I think it's noble that the applicant was willing to remove so many uses, making it more appealing, it's still a business, and it will create a domino effect. And I was unaware until I listened to the planning board meeting that there was the resolution about that area. So clearly, some of our founding leaders expressed the interest that that area remain residential. So I think it's also an issue that you're going to access it in a residential street, in a residential neighborhood. And if he does wraps and signages and stuff for larger vehicles, fire trucks, I would assume some other commercial vehicles. You have older people, pets, kids. It's just not appropriate. It's a residential area, and they're young and with it, I'm sure. I appreciate that, but it's just not the right spot. I believe Ms. McLean is going to build some affordable housing, some moderately priced housing in that area. I know by looking at the deeds, they got a really good deal on that land. I wish I'd have known about it. So anyway, maybe Ms. McLean, I know she's having some issues with her septic, with the lots. Maybe she would be interested in, if they can't do a commercial business with it, maybe she would be interested in buying that, and that would help her with her septic to create the affordable, moderately priced housing that our community desires. So thank you. I'm asking you to deny this commercial zoning in a residential area. Thank you.
Thank you. Jean Isley.
Can you hear me? My name is Jean Isley, and I live at 7601 Addison Drive. And I understand that there are some businesses trying to come into our area, and we don't need any business coming into a residential area. The businesses need to go where the businesses are and leave us as a restricted residential area. And I don't want a business right across the road from me, since it's not for businesses. And I would prefer that things stay just like they are and no businesses in there. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Isley.
Thank you.
Keith Highfield. Highfield.
I'm representing 5012 Lloyd Drive. My mother lives there. Been there for 58 years. Miss Isley's been there for 50 years. And if that business were to be built over there, when Miss Isley looked out her front window, that's what she would be looking at. That's not right. Like I said in the 2 previous meetings, this is part of the original Elmhurst Estate subdivision. Totally residential. Has been since 1965. There's no place for a business. It's just the way it is. And I'll say this, I'm not going to pull any punches. If this is pushed through, it's a great disservice by the town of Summerfield.
Yes.
I've been here most all my life also. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Cliff Phelps.
My name's Cliff Phelps. I live at 5007 Lower Drive. My road T-bones right up to it. I'm the actual second house on the left, right there on Lower Drive. I talked to the former owner of 7508 Sunday evening, Dave. I said, Dave, why did you have to leave? I want to make sure I'm clear about this. He said, when they came in and took our septic fields, he said, my lot was a double lot. He said, they went down, they tried to find a place to perk, to remove his septic field. If he could have moved his septic field, he would have stayed. No problem. It never perked, so he had to move out as well. All those families had to leave because they lost septic field. The property, I know it's 7508, does not perk. So how in the world you can have a business there without any septic system? This is a residential neighborhood. That's what it has been. If this is zoned for business, what's it going to stop? Where's it going to stop for other residential businesses? The questions you need to ask yourself as well, do I want a business beside my house or in my residential neighborhood? That's why they're zoned residential neighborhoods. They're not zoned commercial. They're not zoned business. It is an established, has been established residential neighborhood. Because I could have, if I could have had my house rezoned, I could have opened up a business there for small engine mechanic. That's what I do for a living. Make a great living at it. But I couldn't do that to my neighbors. And I wouldn't do it to my neighbors. All I'm asking is, think about it. Do you want it in your neighborhood? Do you want a business in your neighborhood? If you want a business in your neighborhood, fine, do it. But once you do this, you open up the floodgates for anybody else. And then when you say, well, we're not going to like it, well, you allowed this one to do it. Why can't I do it? You have to establish that this is a residential neighborhood. It's not zoned for business. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Phelps. Joe Bingham.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing us to be here to speak. Joe Bingham, 5011 Laurie Drive. I have only been a resident of Summerfield for about 2 years. My wife grew up out here. She moved out here in '72, lived off of Lewiston Road. And when we found this property on Laurie Drive, we just felt so blessed that it was a quiet residential neighborhood. Just low-key, not a lot going on. As far as a business, I'm a former law enforcement officer. And you put a business that has equipment, keeps cars overnight, it's going to have some nefarious activity. Eventually. No matter what kind of security system you have, you're just going to open yourself up to that. There again, everybody's spoken very well tonight. It's a residential neighborhood. We're all grandparents. We have kids that play on the road. You know, people walk their dogs up and down the road. And as Ms. McLean said, you know, she wants to maintain the residential integrity of that neighborhood. And I just ask that you deny it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bingham. Is, that's all that we have signed up to speak on behalf of the rezoning. Did I miss anyone? Okay, then we will close the public hearing and leave the matter to the council to discuss.
Brad, did the applicant indicate the level of traffic they anticipated?
So it's my understanding that there would be no foot traffic at all. I don't want to speak for them either, but the impression that I received was that trucks would come in not on a frequent basis, and they'd be dropped off and then placed aside, vinyl racking would happen, and then be picked up. That's my understanding, but I'm not fully involved with what they do.
Sounds like Mako.
Ma'am, I'm sorry, the public portion of the hearing has been closed.
Okay.
Sorry. I mean, Mr. Cross is here if anyone would like to ask him any questions.
Mr. Cross, what do you anticipate your traffic would look like?
Like I said, we don't do any kind of advertising or anything. It's all word of mouth. So, you know, we would get a vehicle in. A typical graphics or wrap would take a day or two, and then turn in. We would only have one going at a time. So somebody would drop the vehicle off, have it for a couple of days, come pick the vehicle up, and then so the other part of that is it's Mike and myself are the only two people that work there. So, you know, it would be come in the morning, go, you know, work, go grab a bite to eat for lunch, come back, and then go home. That would be kind of the gist of the traffic.
So is it fair to say the commercial truck traffic would be 2 or 3 trucks a week on a busy week?
That. You know, fire departments, they get a new truck every 10 years, or a replacement truck for a truck every 10 years typically. So, you know, it's not a very recurring thing to have, you know, big trucks. We're not talking about tractor trailers or anything. At the end of the day, the parcel is really small, so we can't have so big of a shop. And that may even be something that we look into is, hey, we can't even build a shop big enough for a fire truck. It may just be, you know, small vehicles, cars and trucks that are pickups and that sort of thing.
Did you say you do signs as well?
Yes, ma'am.
So what about customers picking up their signs?
That's a potential. You know, typically now we just deliver everything. That's kind of our business model. You know, but that may be something that, you know, we're able to do in the future.
So that would be more customers?
Yes.
So would this be a part-time business or full-time, given the fact?
It would be part-time. I'm not leaving the fire department.
2 days a week, 3 days a week?
So I work 24 hours and I'm off for 48 hours. And I work at the sign company on my first day off. So I work roughly 2 days a week. Yeah, I keep my kids the other day.
And does your partner work the same schedule as you?
He didn't know. He works from home currently. We don't have a shop or anything. Basically, all we were looking to do is have a designated area with climate control to be able to apply the graphics, because you know the heat and the cold is very reactive to the vinyl, and so we just needed to have a designated place to be able to do it where the conditions allow. So he typically would work from his house, and then this would be a place for us to actually install on the vehicles.
So one person might be 2 days a week, but the other person could be there the other 3 days of the week.
Yeah, potentially, yes.
We just have to keep in mind that this is the one business that's here, but like a similar, any business, it could change to any business in 2 months. So anything on this list could be allowed in 3 months from now, or.
I have a question for you, Brad. Okay, I'm concerned about the septic, and somebody said, I wrote it down, that 7508 will not perk. So if it's a business, and I don't know what all the rules are, I assume no matter what it is, you have a certain number of bathrooms, you have a certain number of this and that and the others, where you have to have a certain amount of septic, you have to have a certain amount of water, yada, yada, yada. So how's all that going to work? I don't know.
You'll have to come later with the applicant if they get approved for rezoning, they'll go to the county with building plans for building permit, and through that process, they'll look at well and septic. And I think they're well aware too that it could fail at that point. The gentleman tonight spoke that it may not perk. Thankfully, they have 2 properties, so it might work. But I think it's a very real possibility that the applicant's aware of.
And then if you end up cutting a road in there, then that takes away land as well, so then.
That's correct, yeah.
Can I speak to that?
I think it was your time.
Okay.
Sure.
If it's not going to perk, then it would be impossible to put a home there, so it would remain useless, at least for the small business that maybe requires only 1 bathroom. It would allow the land to be used, and it would look nicer than just an abandoned lot.
It's fair to say that the perk requirement on a business may be less than the perk requirement on 2 or 3 bedroom home.
That's beyond me.
Yeah, I don't know that I would say that, Reese.
We
Yeah,
determine,
I don't think so.
we determine septic requirement off of parking in the business or square footage. That's by the county.
Yeah, I'll leave that to them here.
I know they do it by occupancy, because we had that conversation before. They would do the test and then tell us what occupancy could or couldn't be.
Correct.
How high it could be, yeah, so seemingly would be that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
Can I
sir.
speak to Ms. Robinson's point? So, going back to your point about, if this doesn't work out for us, we can turn around and sell the business, or sell the land. I think I'm understanding correctly, if we turn around and sell our property, it has to be used for what is on that conditional list. And so, that opens up library, the fire station, that sort of thing. If it's a condition to where that makes a difference to the council, we're more than willing to remove everything other than our intended use. Because, again, we're not looking to rezone it, make it commercial, and then turn around and sell it. We're wanting to use it for our use, be part of Summerfield, be part of the neighborhood, and, we're not looking to do anything, not trying to put a Dollar General or anything up there. So, if that has an effect on the council, that's something that we can talk about.
So Brad, to that point, and I know we haven't dealt with this when I was on the board, theoretically, if it didn't work out, he could sell it to this lady and she could come back and rezone it back to, correct? Okay,
right.
Thank you.
Janelle, is there something on the conditional use table that concerns you?
Yeah, all of them. I mean, it's not a house, it's not a residence, so community center, library, museum, senior center, post office, government office, place of worship, ambulance service, fire, EMS, athletic field. I don't see any of those fitting in the neighborhood.
But Brad, each of these have their own requirements, and odds are most of them would not fit on this small land, correct? I know we say it's allowable, but there are requirements.
That's a factor that you should consider. I have seen some small churches, so I guess that one could be possible.
Is there a church in the neighborhood already?
I think there's one on Rondon that is for sale.
No, it's sold and it's being turned into a house.
Okay.
But there is one across the street, used to be right there by that old bank.
It's by the old,
Yeah, right below that bank.
The one in this neighborhood is getting turned into a house.
Correct.
So, I mean, we can't ask the applicant to take things off. They have to offer it, correct, Bob?
But we can ask them if they agree.
Well, I think you just offered.
Offer everything with the one, is that,
Yeah, that'd be fine with us.
does that make you feel better to know?
No. I don't, it doesn't change my opinion. I don't think that a business should be in a neighborhood.
Okay, well, I just heard one concern, is that simply a question?
Can I speak again? So going back to some of the concerns that the neighbors had, I know one of them was kind of the domino effect. At the last meeting, one of the neighbors spoke to that. You allow one business here, however many businesses are going to be allowed here. Talking about Ms. McLean's lots, if she decides to turn around and sell it or something. So we did the math, and as you know from the variance, you have to have 60,000 square feet to be considered to rezone for the business district. And so to do that, that would be, there's only two lots, there's only one section, the corner of Rondon and Addison, that would make up the 60,000 square feet. So worst case scenario, best case scenario, however you look at it, there would only be a maximum of our business and one more, given the requirements and with the zoning, the variances. Let's see.
Brett, one second, Mr. Crawford.
Yes,
sorry.
yes, sir.
Did I hear him right that there's only a potential for one more business if another variance is allowed?
I would say yes and no. So he's right that the 3 lots below it probably are the only ones that could be rezoned to business. How many number of businesses you can maybe fit on that lot is probably a little harder to answer.
Okay.
You can maybe do like an office building with 3 or 4 businesses. I don't know.
But would a variance be required there as well?
Is that what you calculated?
So no, if the Ms. McLean's lots, if you combine all 3 of those, you would not need a variance. But you would have to have the one on the Myers Fork Road is absolutely too small. But then on the Rondon and Addison corner, you would have to have all 3 of those lots for one to have one potential use.
So are you saying that's the only other place a business can be, and Ms. McLean's already spoken to housing?
Yes, sir.
Going on those 3?
Right, yes, sir.
Or 4? 4? Or 4 lots or 3?
4 lots.
4 lots.
Frankly, we're not sure. We're still working with that.
Well, I was going to say to that point, if it doesn't work out for her, she could always come back as well. Do the same thing. If it doesn't work out for Alan. So that option is still on the table for her right now.
Other discussion? Any other discussion from the council? Questions?
I can try making a motion. I've never made a motion for a rezoning, but I'll go for it. Is it time for that? Yeah. I move that case RZ 03-2023 be denied. The case is not consistent with the town's adopted comprehensive plan because it does not meet community character preservation and appropriate housing and residential development. It is not reasonable in the public interest because it will not be in harmony with the area in which it is to be located.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Hornick, did that include all the requirements?
Yeah.
Okay, super. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Hornick, does the never mind, I'm sorry.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll call to question. All those in favor, please raise your hand. I want to make sure, in case my hearing goes out, I can count hands. So all those in favor of the motion, which is to not pass it? 1, 2, 3. Those in favor of the motion?
Oh, wait.
Those opposed, I'm sorry, those opposed to the motion? So the motion carries by a count of 3
Right, so the rezoning request is denied by 3-2.
That's correct. Sir, Mr. Cross, thank you all for coming in. This concludes item number 10, item number 11. This is from the mayor and council. 11A is the Republic Services. Mr. Whitaker, can you give us an update on that, or is it just an additional reading?
It is just quickly. This is consideration of a 2-year extension of the Republic's contract for trash and recycling. As we talked about last month, this has to be approved with a second reading. That's a statutory requirement. So last month you approved the first reading. This evening for consideration is the second reading, adoption of the ordinance, and that in effect would put the proposed contract extension in play for January 1 for a 2-year term. And glad to answer any questions. What you see there on the next page, second amendment to the municipal contract, this has not changed since last month. This is exactly the pricing and the details that passed the first reading in November.
Did they decide on what 2 days they were going to use?
No, they left that open.
Is it still 2 days?
Still 2 days, yes.
Thank you.
Scott, I just wanted some clarification. How many actual complaints do we get? Because I talked to some people and I'm like, it's fine. I don't have a problem with it. If I missed it, the one I missed, it was actually on me because I missed the notice that they couldn't pick up because of a holiday or something.
Right. It ebbs and flows. And if you'd asked me 2 months ago, I would have said we've got quite a few complaints. And as I said, I think last month we get no specific favors from them. So the public has town hall and our parks and other locations as part of the contract to be picked up. And I say that meaning that I think we're similar to a lot of residents. They miss us just as much probably, and we have those complaints as a customer. And I know I've heard complaints from Councilmember Davis.
And I was going to say, if I might add, I call them directly and complain. I don't call the town. So we don't know how many people do that as well.
So the setup is just that, is to call one of the call centers, the numbers on our website. Frankly, citizens get aggravated with that sometimes, don't have a good experience. When those missed pickups or problems get bad, they tend to call us. Our clerk or Cheryl in our office tends to take the bulk of those, and I eventually, as they get worse, I start hearing about them. Is that fair, Sarah?
It's mostly missed pickups. We had the hydraulic leak that y'all know about, but it's mostly missed pickups and not being able to get a hold of them. And we've had complaints on rates.
When, like, quite a few, when there's a missed pickup, like how many in a week? How many complaints is that? Just curious.
We started a complaint log like a month ago, and we have like 4 or 5 things on it. But it's hit or miss, and we just started the log. But that's basically the gist, is missed trash.
And I'll remind you what they say is that with this contract extension and going from 1 day to 2 days in Summerfield, that will allow them to provide better service to us. Gives them that second day with trucks in town, so they can capture those missed pickups. So they very much presented this as it affords them a chance for better service, because they they have complained that that one day is just too restrictive. With Summerfield's growth, it's just not enough days a week to make it happen well.
The only other thing I would add, when you gave me that number, is I was able to talk to, I guess, our rep, if you will.
Right.
And honestly, he was very helpful. And talking to him going forward did make a difference. So maybe there's somebody on the website we can say, you need to talk to this person. It would certainly help. Because he actually seemed to take an interest, and he did something for me that day.
Right. Usually, just, and I'm generalizing, call centers can be aggravating, but once it gets to town, we reach out to those local contacts directly, and they normally take care of the problem.
Okay.
All right, so basically, we have to approve this, we're stuck with them. However, I think it was said last time, correct me if I'm wrong, that we also looked at GFL, but they didn't have enough time to get their ducks in a row to try to help us. So is there something, and in this particular contract, I think it can be null and void at any time. So could we get our finance committee to look at contracts, numbers, that kind of thing, and then kind of put Republic on notice that we're looking to do something else. So fix it, or, and then we'll have somebody.
Well, so we'd be going into this with a 2-year commitment with some outs based on performance in the contract.
But the time to do that was this summer when the council was asked, do you want to shop or not? And the
Right.
majority council said no.
Right.
So that's how we're back with Republic.
So GFL said, hey, when this, and the way it normally works, GFL, their main competitor, said, hey, we can't pull this together.
Right. So what do we just need to make
I
a motion?
provided a sample motion there if it's to anyone's liking.
On page 1.
I move to approve the second reading of ORD 2023-020, which is the final consideration of the second amendment to the municipal contract that approves the extension of Republic's franchise agreement for recycling and collection and disposal of residential solid waste, bulky waste, white goods, and yard waste. It is for a 2-year term, calendar years 2024 and 2025.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Opposed. Okay, I'm going to call that question again. Ask you if you're in favor of the motion. Please raise your hand. I have 3. Those opposed? I have 2. So the motion carries. Thank you. Sorry.
It's all right.
I don't want to count on my hearing. So, okay. So that concludes item 11A. Any other reports, updates, or comments, Mr. Manager?
I think first, if there is from council, then I'll go.
Oh, yeah. Any from council?
I have a couple of comments. I had a citizen say that they didn't hear about the purchase of that 1.2 acres across from Town Hall that completed the 16. I was just wondering if you could quickly just say
sure.
this is what we did.
We're talking about the Baines tract where the house was that was torn down several years ago. I think it's 1.86 acres. And we did talk about it. That was just probably missed by the citizen. But we purchased that. That completes the town's purchase of that. Brad's zooming in here for us to GIS. But we have long owned since, I think, 2014, the 13.3 acres where the mobile home park was. Brad, zoom in a little bit to that highlighted Baines tract. And so we just bought that acreage, which completes that quadrant, makes it real neat and tidy.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Also, can you give us an update on the Gordon store? How's that progressing?
I can't. I don't have another update since last month, but at the time it was, things were still tracking for that to be, to have a tentative closing date of January the 8th. So we're talking with the history committee about some of the fixtures and things that still need to be moved. Still need to follow up with Preservation North Carolina again to see if anything's changed, but that's the last information I've had.
Okay, and also, I just wanted to be clear that I am not against the Bandera Farms, even though that was brought up. Just clearly wanting to make sure if we're over budget, how are we going to pay for it? And so with that, I was wondering, is there anything we could get to the financing committee for them to discuss possibly how to fund that, or would they be willing to try to go get some grants like some of forgot her name,
Palmer McIntyre.
Palmer, that yeah, she's been so good at finding all these grants.
So,
or even looking at, well, okay, going forward when we're looking at maintenance and that type of thing, and perhaps Oak Ridge could do a small percentage, perhaps Stokesdale, just those kinds of things. Could we hand that over to them so they could start maybe helping us out?
They could certainly talk about it, but just to be clear, so the $3.45 million budget that we have, which is mostly grants, I won't get into the details of that. What you're referencing that is over budget is what was set aside based on early numbers with that project, just for this component of design and engineering.
Correct.
So we did talk about that being, I think it was roughly $188,000 that we talked about, that was more than we had planned originally.
Right.
So I don't know if there's anything directly that the Finance Committee could do at this early stage on that. I mean, this is going to be a project that is going to take a little time. So, we could put it on a future agenda to talk about it and see if they have any ideas.
I just thought it might, if we engage them and they help, then everybody's kind of on the same team. Okay, thank you.
I think I'd already asked for that to be put on the Finance Committee agenda. So
I would like to say that the Finance Committee can apply for grants, but.
Okay, well, I didn't know that, but
Yeah,
could they come up with or think about how a percentage base, as we've talked about in the past for other municipalities, to potentially help us with maintenance going forward?
I think they could put together, they could talk about it and help suggest an ask of the other jurisdictions of that participation, because that's still the component that's lacking, a very clear town of, city of,
right.
What will you commit to this project? We've had a lot of conversations about it, but they've been looking for very specific requests from us, and so they might get help with what those should be.
Okay. One of the things that the Finance Committee has already talked about is ongoing operational costs of Bandera. And so Vicki and I have already talked about getting together at the first of the year to talk about what projections that would be like for a park attendant. What staff, because our park staff can't, add that to theirs. And so, yeah, we've already talked about that, but we've never talked about any financing of it because the 3.45 is fully covered by grants. So even if we had to pay $115,000, that would be the only thing we would have to pay for a multi-million-dollar park. And so that, they never have talked about that because.
haven't we put some money aside for it?
We
It's all
have
covered by grant.
Even not the fees, the engineering fees and all that?
we have that in the budget. We have the total project in the CIP.
Yeah, but we have it in the budget that we're spending money on
But
it.
it's still, that 3.45 is completely covered by grants.
That is the total of all.
That's the total of, if it went over by $115,000, that's the only amount that we would have to cover up, to come up with, and we would own a multi-million-dollar park for that. So I think the Finance Committee probably looks at it like that would probably be a pretty good investment to have only put in $115,000 to have a multi-million-dollar park, but.
But Lynn, I had already asked for it to be on the agenda for next Finance Committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Just one other announcement. Upon the installation of the new town council, there would be a vacancy on the finance committee. And we do have 2 people at this time who have applied, so we'll get together with Vicki and move forward with that, and depending on how people are around for the holidays. So it might be January, but we have not forgotten anybody, and we know that that is our business to take care of. That's it.
Any other reports, updates, or comments from the council? Okay, Mr. Whitaker, item number 12.
Yes, a few things. Our town welcome sign project is back out for proposals. We had a optional site visit this week, so I bring that up because we're hoping to bring you a contract for that at the January 9th meeting for consideration. And then the other 2 items relate to water. So we've talked about this a long time, and it's been through no fault of the towns. It's just taken a long time for the county to get through all of their contracts related to their ARPA funding, but they did recently approve the $5.5 million for our water initiative that again, we've talked about for a long time. So that's official in the contract language. And then related to water, in October, council had decided to move forward with what our engineers called phase 1 of development for the water tank and transmission lines project. So that proposal should be before council at the January 9th meeting also. And then the last thing I have related to planning is just a reminder that with those voluntary annexations that were recently approved and effective, that will be effective January 1, we'll have 60 days to handle the zoning, to apply zoning to all of those tracts. So that will be on council's plate at the beginning of the year too. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, sir. Moving on to item number 13, recognition of outgoing council members. And I'm going to start with Mr. Davis and talk about him just a little bit. Mr. Davis I have known for, I guess, about 10 years now. And when I met him, well, over 10 years, probably 12 years. He was on the planning board. The president of the planning board then.
Right.
What did we used to call it?
The zoning board.
Yeah, the zoning board, but before the planning board.
Right.
And he served there, I would say, in the number 2 chair. I don't know if that was official designation, but certainly has given unbelievable amount to the town of Summerfield. And the town greatly appreciates all his hard work and effort that he has spent, both on the zoning board and also the planning board. And then a little while back, how many months has it been when you came on the council?
August of last year.
August of last year. Okay, so we had an opening due to Mr. O'Day moving out of town, and we had some great applicants, and we ended up through that choice because of Mr. Davis's experience and background, adding him to the council at that time, and almost instantaneously. By the time he came on the council, we were in the midst of a whole lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, we were.
And Mr. Davis has done a magnificent job of remaining calm and shows great character, and has also shown through this time period a great level of care and concern for the town of Summerfield. And so we want to say very much how much we appreciate you, and ask everyone, I'm going to read this and then present it and ask you to thank me in welcoming. Thank you, Mr. Davis. It's with great appreciation to Councilmember Jeff Davis for his dedicated service to citizens from 8/22 through 12/23 on the town council, and from 1/2011 through 8/2022 on the planning and zoning board. Presented to you tonight by the council and the town of Summerfield. So, Mr. Davis, we thank you. Secondly, I'm going to struggle with this a little bit. I have known Reese Walker almost before he was walking. Not quite that long, but I think we met probably in 1999. How old would you have been in 1999, Reese?
I would have been about 8.
Okay, well, it was a little bit after that then. Just a little bit after that when we met, but for as long as I've known Reese, he has been involved in the town of Summerfield, helping over with the junior council. I've only heard about that, I don't remember that, but with the junior council, and then also running the concessions over at the ball field, and he has just served in so many ways. Currently, he serves on our fire department in addition to serving on the town council. He's married to Sierra, which I had the honor of participating in that, and I'm doing really good. They have 2 beautiful little boys, and I feel like I'm leaving something out.
That's most of it.
That's most of it, okay. Oh, and also, in addition to that, he does farming. In addition to that, he raises sheep.
That's all right.
And yeah, he worked with us hand in hand with SRA for a long time, and the list just goes on and on. Can't say enough good stuff. But a great level of appreciation for Reese for all his years of service. So the town of Summerfield, with great appreciation to Councilmember Reese Walker for his dedicated service to the citizens from December of 15 through December of 2023. So he served on this council for 8 years, and presented to you by a very thankful town of Summerfield. Thank you very much. So,
Tim, if I can.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
I'd like to thank the town for allowing me to serve in this capacity for the last 8 years. I think it has been one of the greatest pleasures of my life to serve in this role. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, "Hey, what are you going to look back on and think of as your greatest thing you did in 8 years?" And I had a really hard time picking one thing. And when I walked into the room tonight, it became very clear. Teresa Peter and I, we disagreed on almost everything. But one thing we did agree on was this building should belong to the town. And her and I, with the staff's help, we worked with the VFW, the remainder of the Grange, all 1 or 2 of them. And we've secured this building to be upfitted like it is today, and for it to serve again in this community capacity. So I think this is probably the thing I'm proud of. We added 8 or 10 acres to the park, and we upfit this building. I think council as a whole did a lot to make that happen. And looking around the room, what an improvement. When I walked in as town council member, the paneling was very dated. The chairs were less padded.
The
pictures were. So I think this is the thing that I'm the proudest of, and that I think we can look back on and go, hey, that was a great thing. We've had a couple of birthday parties here for kids, so we got our money's worth out of it. But I do want to thank the town for allowing me to serve the years.
super. Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Davis, I didn't mean to not give you an opportunity. Do you have anything you'd like to say?
I do. I want to say thank you to the town, to the citizens. I appreciate the opportunity. Looking back on it, we had just moved here a few years before, and I thought, it's time to get interested. Love this town, met the good people. My wife worked hard at the PTA, and had, my daughter was there at the same time, and so let's just try getting on the zoning board at the time, and it was interesting. It was still a young town, so to speak. There was a lot of work to be done, and learning a lot from Dick and his mentorship, and a lot of good people through the zoning board, and a lot of good citizens input, and you know, it was fun. And then we got the task of going through the UDO and rewriting that for I don't know how many times. You know, I've lost count. But in the end, we come through with a good product. You know, I know there's some debate about what's going on with the text amendment, those kind of things. But in the end, we have a good UDO. And, you know, to Teresa's point, you know, I can look back and say, you know, we helped guide Summerfield and set some boundaries on where it's going to go in the future. And I'm proud of that work and proud of what we've done. And I appreciate, you know, the council and for giving me the opportunity to serve. I've enjoyed it. It's been educational and it's been good. And, you know, it's been a rough ride, as we all know. But it's been fun and I've enjoyed it. And I thank everybody and appreciate it. And I appreciate all this town's done. Thank you.
Two quality men. Council, anyone have
I'd
anything
just
to
like
share?
to thank both of you for all your service and everything you've done. And I know we're going to still see you involved in the community and raising up these kids to become leaders of this town, raise up the future for us.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd like to say a couple of things. So, Jeff, in terms of your shorter tenure with your appointment, filling in the seat, you quickly earned staff's admiration and support for events. This is the council member who shows up early to events to help us get ready, and is still there when everybody's gone, trying to pick up trash and put up things, and that's very much appreciated. And then something that I very much admire about Jeff is what I think is a very mature quality in a council member, that and that is that when a council member has a minority opinion, when the vote didn't go their way, it's the ability to, what we talk about, speak with one voice, to, after that decision is made, to be committed with the governing board to speak with one voice and follow that through and be supportive of the direction that the town is moving with that decision. And Jeff is a quiet example of that to me. I've seen him do that publicly, and I've seen him do it behind closed doors. He has that ability to think, okay, this is the majority opinion, and this is how we're going to do it, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And Reese, a couple of things that really stand out to me is, while you're still a young council member, this is one of the most politically astute council members I've worked with in almost 24 years. And what I mean by that is Reese has a really, I think, unique ability to process not just the decision in the moment, but how that plays out over time and what that means for the town. And I've seen him do that over and over again, and it's just a really admirable quality. And like Jeff, a very mature quality in a council member, and he's also the council member who asks questions and who is not afraid to say publicly when he doesn't know the answer. He's not afraid to say that and to ask the people who might. And again, really appreciate that quality about you, and thank you both for your service. Thank you.
Yeah, and one word of advice, I think Reese would agree with this, for those incoming. Trust the staff. We have some of the best people I think you could get. And I won't say money can buy, because that's not it. They do it because they care, they love what they're doing, they love this town. And I always said I worked for them, and I was honored to work for them because they work so hard and so diligently for this town, from Scott all the way down. And I love and appreciate all these people. Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, thank everyone for their input and for your service. We'll move on to number 14 now, installation of tonight. It will just be for the mayor. And I just want to touch on what Scott said earlier. Due to the Board of Elections I guess they didn't realize when they didn't issue their report until Friday, there's a 5-day period before they can certify the election. And so that happened Friday, so that certification process will not be available until after tomorrow, tomorrow being the 5th day. So we explored many options, just going ahead and swearing them in, and Mr. Hornick reached out to the State Board of Elections, and they emphatically suggested don't do that because of the legal exposure that it would expose us to. So what we've decided to do to provide resolution to that is to continue our meeting tonight and open it back up on Thursday night. So because it has to happen at a regularly scheduled meeting. This is our regular scheduled meeting. So if we continue our meeting over to Thursday, then that will be a regularly scheduled meeting. Folks can be sworn in. We can finish the business of the town. And then Saturday they have an informative get caught up on everything that's outstanding overview. So everything will be able to proceed with that. I, on the other hand, will reconvene on Thursday, Beth, and as soon as we get folks sworn in, I do believe we'll have cake. So we will make sure.
Can't come on Thursday, so no cake.
Okay, we'll save you a piece. We'll send some home for you. So, so that is the only reason that this is. That's the only reason that this is taking place the way it is tonight. And I wish there was another way we could have done it, but we did the best we could. So, with that said,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
our esteemed attorney has a question for you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Hornick. Mr. Hassel, and I'll tell you just a real quick story, but throughout his career, Robbie Hassel has been dedicated to serving the public and his community and his profession. As Region 3 Judicial Outreach Liaison for the ABA Judicial Division, he assists judges and other stakeholders with public policy initiatives and educational forums, which have taken him to multiple state jurisdictions for presentations and programs and participation. In addition to cumulative service of nearly 2 decades on both the Supreme Court and District Court judge bench, and as an appointed member of the North Carolina Industrial Commission, Robbie has also served on numerous statewide boards and commissions associated with the judicial system, as well as in leadership positions in the NCBA, I guess that's the North Carolina Bar Association, and local bar associations, and with the ABA Judicial Division governing entities. Prior to his judicial service, Robbie was an assistant public defender and private practitioner handling family law, civil litigation, workers' compensation, insurance coverage matters. He's a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill and its School of Law. Robbie grew up here in Greensboro, where he remains actively engaged civic organizations, particularly in the areas of culture and performing arts and history. He is married to Eloise McCain Hassel, an attorney, mediator, NCBA member, and award-winning senior lecturer at UNCG. So, so just real quick, in 1986, Heather and I had our oldest daughter, Casey, guys. And we had a lot of guys come through that program, a lot of kids with a lot of needs. And I always knew he was going to put them first. So when I had the opportunity to be sworn in again, I just thought, he swore me in just a few months ago, I think back in September, August or September, onto the Board of Trustees for UNCG. And so we got to reconnect, and I asked him about if he would do this, if we were fortunate enough to have this opportunity. And so I'm going to ask him if he would come now and ask my family. We'll do this, and we'll just take a moment.
Well, Mayor Sessom, it is always my great honor to administer an oath to public officials. It has been my great good fortune to come to know public servants over the years at federal, state, and local levels, and public service is something to be commended. And Mr. Davis, Mr. Walker, your service certainly is no exception to that. Even as we speak, we know some friends that are filing for office across this state. And my old friend Bob Hunter, a retired judge, used to say this is a time of mirth for those seeking an office and those entering into a new term of office for you Thursday to come is no exception either. It's a time to be commended Public service is not without its challenges or even adversity, but our democracy cannot exist without participation of good men and women willing to step forward and do so, and lead by example, lead by listening, and certainly the example your mayor has shown you and the affirmation you've been given for another term, sir, well deserved. And I'll have you ride home the Bible for you, and at this time, if you're ready, we will administer the oath accordingly then. You will repeat after me, sir. State of North Carolina.
To the state of North Carolina.
And to the constitutional powers and authorities.
And to the constitutional powers and authorities.
Which are or may be established.
Which are or may be established.
For the government thereof.
For the government thereof.
That I will endeavor.
That I will endeavor.
To support, maintain, and defend.
To support, maintain, and defend.
The Constitution and laws of said state.
The Constitution and laws of said state.
Not inconsistent with.
Not inconsistent with.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
To the best of my knowledge and ability.
To the best of my knowledge and ability.
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office.
I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office.
As mayor of Summerfield.
As the mayor of Summerfield.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So just real quick, this is my wife Heather. Everybody knows Heather. And this is my son Shane. He's the oldest. And this is my son John. And now to the really most important, this is my very next daughter-in-law coming up in March. This is Maddie, so we're very excited about that. This is my daughter Katie. This is my baby daughter. Of the 4 girls, she's the youngest. And this is Murphy Leon after Timothy Leon. So this is the first grandchild that has anything to do with my name. And so this little guy right here moved to the top of the inheritance ladder. So all the other kids are thinking about having more kids and trying to get my name in there. So. Thank you. I haven't been here with this baby for a long time. So hey, thank y'all. Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Thanks, sir. Is there any other business from the council?
Mr. Mayor, may I make a motion that we continue this meeting on Thursday, December 14th at 6:30 here at the community center?
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
So we are dismissed for tonight, but continuing on Thursday. Again, I would remind you, please speak to Mr.